Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Special Needs Corner. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating explainer on the foundational concepts of special needs education. We're going to move from a pretty powerful metaphor right into the actual mechanics of how it all works. I'm absolutely thrilled to guide you through this because truly understanding this framework is the ultimate key to helping every single unique learner out there reach their full potential. To kick things off, let's paint a picture together, especially for our visually impaired listeners. Imagine a person holding a heavy mallet, trying their hardest to hammer a square peg and a triangular peg directly into round holes in the ground. It's frustrating just thinking about it, right? But this perfectly illustrates a traditional educational system. Historically, education has often acted just like that hammer, forcing highly unique students into a standard, one-size-fits-all mold. Special needs education completely flips that script. It recognizes that these pegs shouldn't be shaved down or reshaped. Instead, we need to design an environment where their completely unique shapes are supported and celebrated. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer, just so we all know exactly where we're headed. First, defining special needs education. Second, the 6 dimensions. And third, the 5 components. Let's start with Section 1, defining special needs education. To really grasp how we can help learners flourish, we first have to look at how the definition of special education has evolved over the years. Let's look at a pretty classic definition from the Encyclopedia Britannica back in 2013. They defined it as the education of children who differ socially, mentally, or physically from the average to such an extent that they require modification of usual school practices. What's really interesting here is the historical framing. Notice how it highlights that when a child differs from the quote-unquote average, standard school practices simply must be modified. It's a very foundational view, focused heavily on changing the usual rules to make things fit. But let's fast forward a bit. Understood.org offers a much more modern perspective from 2021, defining it as a range of services and supports that can be provided in a variety of ways and settings and are designed to meet the diverse needs of learners with disabilities. And this brilliantly illustrates how the focus has shifted. Instead of just tweaking usual practices, we're now looking at a proactive, highly flexible menu of services designed to meet learners exactly where they are. Bringing it even closer to real-world application, the Philippine Department of Education, or DepEd, outlined some incredibly specific focus areas in 2021. They describe special education as a customized instructional program aimed at diverse needs, which might require supplementary aids and targeted teaching strategies. But it's not just academics. It covers physical, vocational, and social skills alongside reasonable accommodations. And the ultimate goal? To prepare these learners to become independent, functioning members of society. It's about real-life skills. So if we synthesize all of that Britannica, Understood.org, and DepEd, we get this beautifully simplified operational definition. Special needs education is the provision of a customized and specialized range of supports and services, including instruction, accommodations, and modifications. If you take away just one single thing from this first section, let it be this. It is highly customized, specialized support designed entirely for the individual. Moving right along to Section 2, the 6 dimensions of special needs education. Now that we've nailed down what it is, let's explore what it actually looks like in practice, using the framework from researcher William Heward. Here are the first 3 dimensions. First, it's individually planned. This means learning goals, teaching methods, and even the physical classroom setting are handpicked for each student based on their unique assessments. Second, it's specialized. Teachers use unique procedures, adapted materials, or assistive tech. Think adapted cup holders or communication switches, things you wouldn't typically see in a general ed classroom. And third, it's intensive. Instruction is incredibly detailed, precise, and highly structured, often involving repeated practice so a student truly masters a skill. The final 3 dimensions are all about making sure that intensive work actually pays off. Fourth, it is goal-directed. Every single lesson has a clear purpose aimed at personal self-sufficiency. Fifth, it relies on research-based methods. Educators aren't just guessing here. They're using instructional programs scientifically proven to work. And finally, sixth, it is guided by student performance. This means constant, careful monitoring. Teachers assess how the student is doing continuously, and they adjust their teaching right then and there based on that real-time data. And that brings us to Section 3, the 5 components of special needs education. Let's move to and see how this builds from theoretical dimensions into practical, real-world execution. To make sure this next part is fully accessible to everyone listening, imagine a continuous cycle on the screen made up of 5 interconnected steps. At the top is child find, which flows clockwise down to assessment, then over to placement, up to curricular adaptations, and finally to parental involvement, which loops us right back to the start. This cycle represents the crucial, ongoing heartbeat of providing special needs education. Let's break down those first two steps. Step 1 is child find. This is actually a proactive system where local governments and educators go out into the community to locate and evaluate learners who aren't currently getting basic education services. Once a learner is found, we move to Step 2, assessment. Here, specialists like pediatricians and educators conduct clinical and educational evaluations to map out the child's exact strengths and needs. And remember, this is not a one-and-done test. It's a continuous evaluation process. Based on those assessments, the team determines Step 3, placement. The golden rule here is finding the least restrictive environment possible. This could be a general ed classroom with extra support or a specialized resource center, but the goal is always to equip the child to move to a less restrictive setting over time. Then comes Step 4, curricular adaptations. This is where we plug in instructional supports like visual aids, auditory tools, or extra time so the student can fully access the content without us having to water down the actual educational standards. So the crucial point is that none of this works in a vacuum. The fifth component is the vital bridge between school and home. School professionals do amazing work creating individualized plans and providing intensive instruction. But parental involvement, that is equally vital. This entire system relies on families working hand in hand with the school, sharing information, applying these specialized strategies at home, and giving constant feedback. Collaboration is, without a doubt, the true heart of special needs education. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly important question to reflect on. How can we use this structured, strengths-based framework to help every unique learner reach their full potential? Because honestly, when we stop trying to hammer those square pegs into round holes and instead build custom environments where every shape naturally belongs, the possibilities are literally endless. Thanks for watching. God bless.